Hello, everyone. It's Ashton Fay with Keller Williams Real Estate, and I'm here today to talk to you with Lance. He is an agent that has been on our team for a very long time. We jokingly say he's been doing real estate since the 8th day. Thank you so much for joining me.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Keys, chaos, and client tales. So, being in real estate for so long, you must have some pretty crazy drama that you've seen over the years.
Yeah, and some of them I'm probably reluctant to share. Real estate always looks the same. You got a house, you got a sign out front. Everybody thinks that's pretty much it. But
They think every real estate deal looks the same.
but it gets interesting. I've been a real estate agent for almost 30 years. And so things have changed quite a bit. So I got my license. And you get your license, you can literally go out into the lobby after you pass the test and write a real estate transaction. And so a gentleman I know that was really involved in real estate training helped draft the real estate agency law pamphlet.
Wow.
He said that you get your license, you're licensed to be dangerous, you know. And so I show up at the office. I'm licensed. Remember, I had a ponytail, if you can believe that. And I'm sitting there, and the broker, Scott, says, go sit over there. There's your desk. And so I sat over there, and we had pencils. There was no computers. There was nothing. I was just sitting there, and there was these two agents who were in there. Bill led the phone book across the desk, and he says, some people start at the Z's. And I go, what do you mean? He says, you call them up. You ask for anybody looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate. So that's what I did. And I created it was a complex contact management database system consisting of 12 manila folders, each with a month marked on them. That was it. That's all I had.
Wow.
And so I put this together, and I'm working it. And I wasn't getting anywhere. There was it was a smile and dial, you know, and I was getting burned out. Well, then I had an opportunity to join a team. And so I go down there. And I worked with him for a year, and it's like 14 hours a day. I'd come home from Linwood, get off exit 199. I'd get a call. I'd drive under the bridge, get back on the freeway, and head back down to Linwood. And I did that for a while, and then, things changed. Baby was coming. And
Can't pull 14-hour days working.
No, everything was changing. And so that's my 29-year-old daughter. And wow. And anyway, so I left there. And I moved up, and I remember I pull out my manila folders and I call this number. And now I contacted this person literally a year before because it was month. And then next year she said, call back. He said, call back in a year. I got some stuff up in the air. So I called back, and a gal answered the phone, and I told her who I was, why I was calling. She goes, funny you should call. We need to sell this house. I almost dropped the phone, you know.
Let's make it happen.
I know it. It is so bizarre. And so I take the listing. Now, Mr. Seller, he wasn't around. He was incarcerated. The things he had up in the air were legal issues, and he ended up being incarcerated. He was at the Snohomish jail in Everett. And so that was going on. And then something else was going on is the property was a short sale. Now, back then, I didn't even know what a short sale was. I'd never done one. I had no experience. It was a completely raw field of real estate back then.
So pause for a sec. Short sale, for those of you who are not in the know, is when a property is not worth as much as the mortgage is on the property. So the loan is for $400,000, but the home itself is only worth $350,000. It becomes a short sale where the seller has to come to this table with the additional funds to pay it off, or we have to negotiate with the bank, which happens more often. We have to negotiate with the bank for the bank to accept a lower amount. Those generally take quite a lot of time. Where a normal real estate transaction takes 30 days, short sales take anywhere from 6 months to, what's the longest you've seen a short sale? A year?
Over a year.
Over a year.
Yeah.
So it's a process that you don't necessarily want to go through as a buyer. As the seller, it's going to be a massive hit to your financial and credit picture. So not fun for anybody.
Yeah.
If your loan is worth more than your home, just don't sell. If at all avoidable, just wait. Just wait to sell it.
And the homeowner obviously wasn't able to work. and wasn't able to make the payments.
Right.
And so you're selling the property short of what is owed on it. That's the most simplest terms. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know how to do it. I knew nothing. So I just started making phone calls. And I wound up contacting the bank. Now I get hung up on all the time. The banks are back east. Oh, well, let me open at 9. So I'm up at 6 in the morning on the phone calling these banks. And I'd be on hold for 45 minutes and then the call would disconnect.
Wow.
Yeah. And so finally I get in touch with somebody and we had an offer. And I'm working this short sale with this person at the bank. In fact, we had several offers. So I sent them all 3 offers by fax. There's no email, no electronic signature format. Everything back then was done by fax with wet signatures with blue ink, which of course got lost in the fax, but that's what they wanted for originals if we had to mail them. And so I negotiated with this bank with this one gentleman. We looked at the offers on, he had his copies, I had mine. We decided which one to go for, and then we accepted the offer. So we had to get some initials done. So when you do a real estate transaction or any forms need to be signed when somebody's incarcerated, on Thursday, they had the 11 o'clock, what was called the paper shuffle. So you go down the file, everything's got to be clearly marked on where the person needs to sign or initial. You give it to a guard, they disappear. And so I was down there, I think 4 or 5 times, getting initials and signatures through this process of everything, changes, negotiations, all that. We were down to 3 initials and it was done. It was closed. It was over. I go down there. I know. This is months, right? I go down there and I wait for about 45. Guard comes back out. They don't know where the homeowner is. I go, you lose him? Yeah.
Lost him in the jail.
Yeah,
He's escaped.
And so that's it. They're not telling me anything other than that. In fact, they probably told me too much already. So I go back to the office and I start getting on the phone. And I talked to his girlfriend. I got in touch with his parole officer. I started calling everybody. I called the Bureau of Prisons. And I mean, I was just short of calling the governor and his counselor that works with people that are incarcerated and going to do some prison time, found out that he had been shipped to Shelton. Yeah. So he was at the Shelton prison down there. So we put the package together and I overnighted. He wouldn't sign it. He was a little upset, understandably so, because now he's in prison. And so I call his girlfriend and I said, he won't sign. And she goes, yes, he will. And she says, I'll call him. So she called him. We overnighted the things down there again, and he signed them, then the transaction closed. Now, I have never met this gentleman. I can't remember his name. I wouldn't have the slightest idea what he looks like nowadays. But I mean, that was a strange deal where I sold a property and never met the seller. Now the property was at like 130,000, right? And
I mean, way back then.
yeah, but the lower, what I found through the years is the lower the property costs within a given market, the thicker the file is. Now all of our files are generally electronic. If your average market price is 350, you're selling a house for 175. That file is always going to be 3 times as thick. I never figured that out other than complexity of problem properties, I guess, why they're selling for cheaper.
I'm going back in my brain because I have developed sort of a reputation among our team for having all of the crazy deals, all of the drama transactions.
The faraway listings.
Yeah, I do a lot of distressed properties that are a lot cheaper than the market average. You might have pointed out a pattern that I did not realize was there. Thank you.
Well, for a while, just as a little aside, I had the record for the lowest price sale in RSG, and it was a foreclosure over on the res on leased land for $27,000. And I found a cash buyer in California that came up here and bought it for his son. So I had to go through the Tulalip Tribal Administration. And that was something. That was a whole other story.
I'm going through one of those right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so you learn a lot in real estate that people don't realize on the outside, the things that we go through. And that you could write books on this.
Thank you so much for joining me, Lance. I really appreciate having you here on another episode of Keys and Client Tales. I do a couple of these a week, so go back, check out my past ones, like, subscribe, follow me on all the different socials. I'll be there, Ashton Faye or Ashton for Homes, depending on which social channel you're on. And when you're ready, I'll be here to help you out. If you're ready now, let's talk. 425-491-1620. Thank you so much, Lance. I really appreciate it. And we will see you next time. Bye.